Wilderness survival. It is important to me and my family. We like to go on long hikes in the woods and checking out what nature has to offer. We like to forage, we like to look for plants that are edible and plants that are not edible to show our kids what not to eat, and the plants that we would like them to eat, like blackberries and blueberries, wild strawberries, and stuff like that. We also try to show them the plants not to touch, like poison ivy, poison oak, poison sumac, and we usually try to teach them to stay away from mushrooms. Mushrooms are very dangerous if you do not know exactly what you're looking for. And we also try to teach them survival techniques such as how to gather water without having water, using things that are in nature to get water, to get food, to get protein is another thing that we like to try to show them, such as eating cattail roots, which are actually really sweet and kind of fibery tasting. We also like to make sure that we show them the one mushroom we would know really well, which is called dryland fish or morels. We like those, we use those, and eat those. They're very tasty. A lot of people think they taste like fish. I think they just taste like a regular mushroom. But anyways, also with wilderness survival that we've been learning for a while now is we like watching shows that have less shroud in them. And Man versus Wild and Dual Survival. Shows like this show us techniques of survival in different climates and different areas of the world. Each and every episode, each and every person that is in these shows has a different technique of style of survival, and each one of them has their own unique way of showing it, and it helps us with different methods and different techniques on how to survive in the wilderness. That way, if the world ever does mess up enough to where we have to go retreat into the woods, my family and me will actually survive being able to eat plants and stuff that is actually edible in the woods. The bugs are one thing; they're tasty. Some of them. Have not got any of my family to actually eat any yet, but in my time in the military, there's some of the training I had to do. We had to eat bugs, and one day I plan on getting them to eat some bugs, but I highly doubt they will. We also do a lot of looking up what kind of medicines you can make out in the woods with the plants and the bark off of trees and stuff. You can actually make a headache medicine just by chewing on the bark of a willow tree. You can also make a nutrient tea out of boiling the pine needles of pine trees. All pine trees or evergreens are actually edible. You can actually peel the hard bark off the pine trees and get to the soft, fibrous bark on the inside, and that is actually edible too. It's also another thing that you can use for those is the pine cones. You can use the pine cones to brush your teeth. You can use the pine cones to clean out your ears. You can also use the pine cones for a toiletry. But you can also take and get the pine cone seeds and eat those after you've boiled them up. They're actually pretty tasty. You can actually eat acorns as well. You have to boil those up and make them kind of like a hummus and boil out all the saccharin in the acorns that make them so bitter. Once that's done, they're actually a pretty good little mush, and they're actually tasty. Another thing I highly recommend is actually getting a book like this one here, which you can pick up at any bookstore. It has a lot of good survival information in it, how to make shelters, how to make fire without matches or lighter. It has ways to build shelters. It has ways to make traps and snares. It also shows you some things on how to collect berries and what plants you can use for food, what bugs you can eat, and what plants you can use for medicinal purposes. All these things are actually very important, especially with the way everything is starting to go. The more you can actually get from the woods and eat from the woods, the less you'll actually have to worry about going to the grocery store and getting. The woods are your grocery store. So using all the information that you have from learning foraging, you can actually survive pretty well off of just the stuff in the woods.